Well, as you can imagine, as a member of the opposition, I'm not totally thrilled, largely because there's a number of things missing that we would have liked to have seen in it. First of all, the macroeconomy was completely neglected. GDP growth figures, nothing to substantiate the rosy projections in the economic survey, and some genuine concern about the fiscal deficit number she tossed in at the end of the speech. The 3.3% is the same one they mentioned last year and failed to meet. So why should we expect that they'll meet it this year? Then amongst the other omissions, you have something like the Ayushman Bharat, which so much was made of the interim budget, was not mentioned in her speech at all. The question of some of the social sector expenditures, health and education, remains, but we'll have to look carefully at the exact numbers to see how good or how bad those are. Certainly, the first few years of the first term of Mr. Modi, both health and education went down in extremely damaging ways, and let's see if that's been corrected. We also have to be very concerned about the extra 2 rupees tax on petrol and diesel. That's 1 rupee cess and 1 rupee tax, because 2 rupees per litre is going to have an effect on the Aam Aadmi. You can't go around saying that petrol taxes only affect people with Mercedes, because a poor man who's going to a market to buy his chappal and his shirt is going to find that because that chappal and shirt are transported from the factory to the bazaar in a vehicle using petrol or diesel, that the extra cost for the manufacturer and transporter will be passed on to him.
But do you think that, this government had such a resounding majority? They had the political wherewithal to do very bold things, and they were kind of sort of submissive in that. They were kind of like submissive, in terms of they were not so bold enough. But how would you rate that?
Yeah, no, it was very much part of the sort of creeping incrementalism that they've been advocating for some time. Very little indication of any bold or imaginative vision. There were some good things about women and so on, which I'd like to see translated in practice, because there's no question that special incentives for women, particularly women entrepreneurs, will do a lot of good for the economy. Extra support for self-help groups and Mudra, they're raising the limit to 1 lakh, and so all of that is good. But having said that, everything with this government depends on the gap between rhetoric and reality. Will they be able to implement what they've said? Because the previous 5 years have not been encouraging in that respect, I have to say that I will have to continue to express some skepticism until and unless they're able to demonstrate tangible, positive news on the ground.
And how would you rate the FM as the first full-term finance minister? Your message to her?
No, I think she spoke very well. Budget is also never just one individual's work. Her speech was well delivered, by and large, and I rather relish the fact that for once Parliament heard a Tamil verse rather than the usual Urdu couplets. Not that I have anything against Urdu shairis, but this was a great reminder to our North Indian friends that there is a rather large country beneath them that they should be aware of. And it was also not a bad metaphor, was it? And I must say, 2.25 hours on her feet, without sitting down, without a sip of water, very impressed. So she's clearly got the stamina for the job. Let's see if the vision is accompanied by some tangible, effective implementation.